So my background is in tech. I got my bachelor's in EECS from Berkeley. I went to grad school at MIT immediately following. The most important part of that part of my life is that I really came of age in the original .com era. So I got my master's in '98, and then I left the PhD program in 2000 actually because it was really the height of the bubble, and there was so much excitement and so much fervor. It's not like for all of you who have gone through the Bitcoin era, who've lived through what happened with GameStop. You guys got a taste of that. But what you also had in these last 2 or 3 years were a lot of folks like me and perhaps Aaron saying, well, this isn't going to last. We've seen this before. We've seen this movie. It's not going to go pretty. And I'm sure we will be wrong occasionally, but in these two cases, most of us were probably right, right? We knew that these were bubbles. Go back 20 years, in '98 and 2000, no one really knew that that was a bubble. In the original bubble, I really felt convinced, and really industry as a whole had no frame of reference. All we knew is that there was this great new concept called the internet that was changing the world. We had things like e-commerce. We could buy things online now. We could buy groceries online. Every business model imaginable seemed disruptive, seemed like it could work, and no one could possibly know better. So I certainly ate that up. I decided to build my own startup. It was very compelling because it was actually my co-founding team consisted of me, coming from grad school, and someone from HBS, and we felt like we were kings of the universe, right? And it was very easy to point to other companies I had raised and say, hey, if those guys are worth $5 million, $10 million, or easily worth 20, because those guys also had a PowerPoint, a story, and not a whole lot more. That's what we had. Of course, once I left and came out to the Valley and actually tried to build our business and fundraise, that was exactly when the bubble burst. And it turned out that if those companies were worthless, our company was also worthless. So there was a lot of, I would say, pain and trauma from that moment in my life. And that's something that I really want to really convey to founders as well, for all of you who are thinking about going down that pathway. I'm actually quite pleased that I had that failure early in my life. It was a devastating time in my life. I went through, I don't know, 3 months plus where I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was holed up in my room because it really felt like a personal failure, and it was the first personal failure in my life. If you think about the kind of person that wants to that leaves school to do a startup, right? And I think it applies to a lot of you. It applies to a lot of our peers. These are folks who have not failed in life before, right? They did well in high school. That's how they got into a good college, and that's how they got into a good grad school. And if they've worked, they've had a great career so far. That's what inspired them to believe, to have the confidence to want to go out and go do this thing. So the moment that you face that failure, for me, it was a massive gut check. It made me question everything in my life, and it made me wonder if I wanted to ever go back into this world and face that pain again. But of course, a few years later, the pain faded. I realized that my love for entrepreneurship and early stage, it didn't fade. In fact, it was, I would say, increased by that experience. I realized that there was not scary. So with that in the back of my mind, only about 5, 6 years later, I was back as a angel investor. I walked in not expecting a whole lot. I just loved the action so much that even though I didn't have a great idea for a business that I wanted to build, I wanted to see what was out there. I wanted to invest in them. Fast forward, I have been an angel investor for about 12 years. I made about 36 investments in that time frame, almost all exclusively early stage, pre-product, pre-revenue, just folks that had a PowerPoint and a vision and a dream. Professionally, I was actually a quant fund manager. I did that for about 6+ years, but it was certainly not my passion. So post 2014, I walked away from that. I actually lived in China for a couple of years, where I built a venture backed company. So got a little bit more experience on the founder side there. I've been back in the US since 2015 or so, and basically a full time professional angel investor. I had been in every accelerator in California. That's how you get your deal flow. That's because there are thousands of companies. Thousands of companies weren't going to send their pitch decks to me as Chon. But by pairing myself up with angel groups in Sacramento and San Francisco and LA and beyond, I could get access to thousands of companies, and that's how I made 20 plus investments in 1 year. And one of them was, of course, the one that I'm at currently at Berkeley. And this was an accelerator that had been around for a while. I wanted to be involved. And about a year into that experience, they found out about my fundraising experience and said, "Hey, sure, it would be great if there was a way to build a venture fund." And that brings us into chapter 2.